What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, and I wanted to just go over some trades from today. So it was a green day. It was a pretty nice green day. I originally had thoughts about shorting a few stocks right out the gate. So this morning in the pre-market, we kind of had a lot of choppy action here, especially with this NURO. It looked to be a short throughout the pre-market. It kept coming up to the volume weighted average price and failing. So like all in these areas, it broke down, and then it would try and break up, but then it kept kind of going lower. So it looked like it might be a short out of the gate, and but I know there were a few traders looking to go long if it could hold above the volume weighted average price. So you saw at the open it kind of had this consolidation flush down, but then immediately you had this green volume pushing it higher, and the green volume was higher than the red volume. It's something to be kind of aware of, but at the same time you didn't think that this thing immediately flushed back down. Kind of was trading along the VWAP for about a half an hour all the way up until 10, and then you had this rip basically through the whole dollar or $4, and up, making a new high. This is a new 5-minute candle high. You can see it on this candle here. I mean these candles here. So you saw that on the 5-minute chart, this 233 level here was kind of a breakout for the 5 minutes. So this kind of break here was a signal to go long, and then obviously you had a bit of short selling, and then it kind of reclaimed the VWAP, looked to push higher. Man, I'm not even looking at the right stock. So I'm looking at TUSK down here, not NURO. Sorry, I just have the 5-minute chart up. But it had a similar start. So similarly, it kind of had this push, this fun reject, and then it stepped higher. So sorry about that. Yeah, that was TUSK before. So that was the other stock that I traded, but I shorted TUSK. So I'll go over that after. This NURO here, I took it for a long trade. Basically what I was doing here in this trade was I was buying as close to the volume weighted average price as I could. Obviously having bought back here would have been the better buy, so 426 here would have been the best price. I was looking kind of at the VWAP around here, which was 430, 429, 427 area. So I bought kind of as close to that as I could, so I got a 428 fill. So I was hoping that it would hold the VWAP and then push higher, or at least give us another bounce towards 490. It was kind of extended on the day, but because we had this breakout and massive volume, it looked like we might get a continuation off of the volume weighted average price, but instead we had just a sell-off. So with this one, it was kind of about managing risk and cutting your loss. So as soon as it broke below the volume weighted average price and held, so this one I was kind of in this candle, I was hoping, okay, if it holds above, then I'm gonna stay in the trade, but if it breaks below, then I'm out. And unfortunately it did break below, and as soon as I seen that and kind of started to push lower, I was like, I'm just gonna get out of this. It was like a 12-cent loss or something like that, or 16 cents loss. It was really not terrible, but definitely good thing that I cut my loss though, because you see what happened the rest of the day. This thing just sold off. And that's the thing, I was looking to short this thing out the gate, but unfortunately with this stock is the margin rate was way too it was basically like a three times margin rate, so I would have to have 3 times the amount of money to short. So I would only be able to short like a small amount, so I wasn't really trying to short it, unfortunately, because I just wouldn't have been able to get enough shares to actually be profitable. So I kind of was like, all right, good on that trade. I wasn't going to try, if this thing broke up again and held above the volume weighted average price, I might give it a go. But at that level, it was basically just a, one attempt, hold the VWAP. If it didn't, then I was out. So that was that trade. So that was small loss. But then, nothing was really popping up. I was kind of not really seeing anything. Obviously, Chris was the big stock today. You see here, it's still up 340%. But with me, it was kind of like I didn't really like the choppiness. So with me, it was kind of like, if you would have bought this thing pre-market, you probably would have had a better chance of making money. Unfortunately, what happened was is that once the bell rang and you had this kind of, you know, fall below the volume weighted average price and then this breakout, you had this kind of very choppy action. So it would kind of go up and then it would come down, and then these candles here, you see these like these kind of choppy candles where you'd go up 10 cents, down 20, you know, and then it just kind of kept chopping around in these areas, and then you get these breakouts. But it was really hard to predict them because it's not like now, like obviously if you would have just bought near the VWAP here, you would have been fine. But in these candles, it's kind of looked like a reversal, and it kind of looked like, you know, you were going to get a lot more selling volume, especially because the selling volume was increasing. So obviously that turned around there, and then you're like, okay, the volume's coming back in. So then you'd be like, okay, I'm going to buy here, you know, hoping for a push higher, and you would have been, you know, correct there. But if you weren't able to kind of sell there, it would have immediately came back down, and you know, this thing has been chopping around all day. So like for me, if you're going to trade something like this, you kind of need to trade in the ranges. So you need to be buying the dips instead of looking to buy it at the highs. So what that means is like buying at 585 down here and then selling into this rip, you know, and then kind of waiting to the drop, buying here and then selling it here. And you could have done that the whole way, right? Like kind of buying these dips and then selling into the rips. So that was the way to trade a stock like that. That's kind of it's got so much momentum, but it's also so choppy. It's just kind of back and forth, but you know, it's not a straight ascending pattern. It's definitely a difficult one to trade, especially if you're not like I'm not, you know, an expert or anything. I just kind of have been learning in the process of trading, and also like, you know, obviously spending a lot of time learning patterns, learning charts, seeing what these kind of different levels mean, and what, you know, where you can find support and resistance, and kind of learning from those things as you go. But you can never be perfect, and something like this, it's so choppy, which is good for day traders. I mean, you can definitely make a lot of money out of this stock, and I know a lot of people did today. But for me, it was kind of just like, this is too choppy. If I could have shorted it, I probably would have been shorting in this 350 level, anything above 750, sorry, or in this 720. I would have been shorting anywhere here above, basically above $7. But unfortunately with this stock, it was kind of the same, where you had the 300% margin rate. So you see 300% here margin rate. So that means that I really couldn't get enough shares to short with any sort of, you know, decent size. So it was kind of like, nah, I'm not interested. You can see it trying to break the volume weighted average price here, and maybe it goes higher. But as it's coming to the end of the day, you know, and you can see TUSK is doing the same thing. So you're having a lot of buying volume coming into the market right now. But usually that's what happens in power hour. Doesn't necessarily mean these are going to continue higher, but they could, you know. This thing's already up 360% on the day, so I don't know. You know, I don't want like to buy things that are up that high, especially, you know, the news is nothing incredible. So, you know, the news on this thing basically is that they have some cancer treatment or something. Yeah, so like this is after the coming out as positive preliminary data from the ongoing phase 1 study of CA4948 monotherapy in patients with leukemia and myelodysplastic syndromes. So that's, you know, basically just saying that they've had positive results from one of their tests. So there's nothing really, you know, and here it's like surges 330% on early stage blood cancer data. So it's just an early stage kind of trials that they're doing that are positive. So this is the kind of stock that's probably just going to sell off, and tomorrow, you know, we'll come back in and this thing will be at $3 again. That's just my that's just what I think, but at the same time, who knows, you know. I'm not giving any trade advice. I'm just telling you what my thought process is, but I'm not shorting it because you don't know. But anyway, so my other trade today was on TUSK. So this was a stock where it really did nothing for the first couple hours until around 12, well actually 11. So at 11 it broke above the VWAP and then had this rejection, but then kind of sailed higher, and you had this kind of grinding action on it where it would push up with some, you know, decent volume, but then you'd have these big reversals. And these reversals were easy to see because it was like you'd have these topping tails. So that's one of the things about this stock that I'll show you, is that like one of the things that I liked about this stock is that you had these on the 5-minute chart. You could look down here and you can see in these pushes, when you had this huge volume, you'd have these topping tails. So when you see these extended wicks, especially on a big green candle, what that tells you is that there's a ton of selling volume at this level. So kind of at the 350 level here, there's a ton of selling volume. So as soon as I seen this candle close the way it did, I got short at the top of this candle. So 339 was where I got short, at the top of that candle, knowing that this is huge resistance at this 350 level, but also knowing that it's probably going to bounce off the volume weighted average price, right? And this is what you have to kind of expect when you're trading, is where is support and resistance going to be. So you can see on the 5-minute chart, even on the 1-minute chart, when you're looking at this level, when you're looking at these levels, you're seeing kind of so that was my later short, right? Okay, right here. So when you're looking at these levels, you're seeing it bounce up and then get rejected, and you can kind of see here on the 1-minute chart. On the 5-minute, you can see clearly how this was a topping tail, and then the next one was a candle of indecision, which for me, it took me as a sign that this was going to reverse, because it had already bounced up like 20-30% right there, almost $1 from 250 basically up to 350, and then you had this bounce reversal. So to me, I was timing the reversal, but I wasn't going to hold. Once I saw this thing kind of hold on the volume weighted average price here, I got out. So you can see on the candle I got out at, I basically got out at the bottom of the candle. The next candle flushed down closer to 3, but then it immediately reversed and came back up. And this is why I wasn't going to hold this trade for longer than I needed to, and basically as close to the volume weighted average price as I could, I was going to get out. So this is just a short reversal trade, knowing that when I saw this kind of second attempt to come back up to this 350 level, and then it just faded and had this kind of candle of indecision, along with the 5-minute chart, showed me that it was a good level to get short and take a quick short trade. But then to get out when it hit the VWAP, and I was watching it, and unfortunately I didn't short it up here in the 370s because I saw a ton of resistance, and I literally was sitting there watching it for like a good hour and just saying, oh, I should have shorted at 370, I should have shorted at 370, and I just didn't. So then it kind of stair stepped down, and as soon as it broke below the VWAP, couldn't hold, I shorted at the VWAP. It broke above quickly, but then kind of came down and just kind of had this grinding action for about an hour. I just held the trade knowing that if it could break above the volume weighted average price, I would get out. So if it could break above 320 and hold, as you see, like it immediately broke above 320 here, but then it rejected. So it hit 330 and then immediately flushed back down, immediately back down below the volume weighted average price, and then it never again broke above it. So that was my kind of signal to hold the trade, knowing that this level of this VWAP level, as well as these channels and the SMA, all are going to act as resistance at this level, because it's trading below all of them, and as it comes to try and push up into them, you're going to see it's going to run into resistance. So now it's going to just trend down with these lines. So these levels are all showing you that this wants to go downwards, which is why I shorted it, even though it looked like it was reversing and maybe going to go for a green move. I was still shorting, knowing that all of the indicators were pointing to the downside. So that was one of the reasons why I took this trade and was able to hold it when it bounced above the VWAP, but then immediately retraced. Obviously, if this went higher, hit 340, 350, I would definitely be out. But you see, it wasn't really able to break above this channel, and then it immediately reversed and basically was just grinding lower for the rest of the day. But you can see the other reason why I wasn't going to hold this all day, I was basically just holding for a quick drop down to $3. And then when it tested 3 but couldn't break, I immediately was out. So I covered at 303.89, basically a 12-cent move, but it's almost 5% on a stock like this, a $3 stock. So it was a decent trade. And again, this is a stock that really has no news. The news that it has is not anything amazing. It basically is had analysis from its Puerto Rico. So basically, the FEMA, so the Federal Emergency Management Agency or whatever, they put out a report basically saying that they're validating the work that this company, Mammoth Energy, is doing in Puerto Rico. So it was nothing amazing, and then you had this kind of also earnings report, basically that they were up 79 cents year over year. Sales were 70 million, that beat the estimate of 50.44 million. So it's a decent catalyst, and this thing saw some decent volume. But in my mind, it was just the chart. It was this pattern here, and you can see the pattern, right? You can see that I should have shorted, and this is why I wanted to short it at 370, because I saw this topping tail here and then this next topping tail here. These are indicators, both of these candles, that it's going to reverse, and you can see almost the exact same 5-minute pattern. On the 1 minute, it's not as easy to see. On the 1 minute, you kind of get lost in the chop, but obviously you can see this topping tail candle, and that's the indicator. But on the 5 minute, it's just such an easy pattern to understand when you see this resistance and then this pullback and then this resistance here and then the pullback that came. So the proper place to short was anywhere in this 370 area, and obviously your stop would have been like 385, the high of this candle here. Just getting in, holding for 50. If it goes 15%, 5% against you, you're out, and it's a close tight stop. But basically you can hold this all day knowing that this is probably going to break lower. So anyway, that was my process for shorting TUSK today. Like I said, I don't think this thing's going to hold up. It's already still up 57%, so it might not drop too much, but I think this thing will tomorrow be trading around 250, 275, something like that. Definitely below $3 in my opinion. But I really, that's just my opinion. So don't go and short this thing and then be like, oh no, it's going against me, because that's what happens. And I a lot of times fall victim to FOMO and fall victim to just the inability to think from a step back and not kind of get lost in the momentum and all of the kind of crazy swings and be like, oh no, I missed it, so I got to get in now. You got to fight that. I'm learning that. I think everybody that trades for the first time learns that. And at the end of the day, you just have to do your best, and you have to show up every day and treat it like a job, treat it like a like a skill that you're trying to master, right? Like, you can't be biased one way or the other, because you have to kind of let the chart tell you. And obviously, if you're a long trader, you don't short, then you're not going to ever look for short setups. But you should understand them so that you don't buy into a short setup, right? Like, it's kind of one of those things where it's good to understand short selling, even if you don't want to short sell, because then you'll be able to understand the mindset of a short seller and where they're going to look to get in short. And you might be buying long on a setup that really is a short setup. But you're like, for instance, any of these candles here, like if somebody sees this candle top up and then they're like, oh, it's holding now, so I'm going to buy here at 390, 340, and then it immediately flushes down to $3. Are you going to hold that trade? Are you going to hold that trade from 340 down to $3? Looks like it might break the VWAP. I bet you most people would sell. Most people would get out and maybe buy again when it holds the volume weighted average price. But at the same time, these are trapping candles, especially a candle like this one here, right? Because it's going down, then it's going to kind of reverse and come back up, and then it immediately flushes down, right? So that's kind of this area right here. So you can get trapped in kind of these patterns if you're not paying attention to the overall picture. And that's why you need to be aware of things like support, resistance levels, these kind of channels where it's trading within, and when it's testing the volume weighted average price, and when it's able to hold, you want to get in. But if it's not able to hold, you want to get out, like I did on NURO. Whereas when you're trading short, you're trading the opposite. So when it breaks down below the VWAP, you want to get in short, holding, knowing that the VWAP is now acting as resistance, right? So that's why you want to be looking at it like from a bigger perspective rather than just getting lost in the chop. And that's one of the reasons why I've kind of stepped back in the last few trading days and haven't really traded in the first hour or two, mainly because there's so much chop happening, and I tend to go long and then get chopped out only to see the stock shoot up $2 without me. And it's just one of those things where if you're gonna get long early, you kind of have to hold, or be willing to have a tight stop and then get back in if you see it, and not get mad if you miss the move. But anyway, that's kind of what we got to do as traders, is work on our strategy and work on our perseverance and how we survive and how we deal with the swings, whether it's good or bad. The other video that I put out today is talking about kind of my last couple weeks and how they haven't been very good, and I've been kind of depressed a little bit when it comes to trading. Although I've been doing mentally really good. It's just, it sucks when you kind of see the right trade, but then you miss it and then you force a trade and then lose. And that's something that really hurt me the last couple weeks, is the FOMO, and then the kind of wanting to get in at the high and then having to cut my loss, knowing that I should have traded it earlier when I first see it and pop up on my scanner and been like, okay, now I'm confident to get in, but I wait and watch it push up $2 and then I try to trade it at the high, which you can't do. And that's one of the things that you really need to step back. And sometimes when you're actively trading, you have to allow yourself to see the kind of bigger picture rather than just the tight kind of overall choppiness. So that's something that I'm working on, and that I know a lot of traders work on and they struggle with. Hopefully this video helps you and makes you understand kind of my thought processes and why I trade the way I do, and why I kind of also have been having the struggles that I had. Right? It's one of those things where I don't look at the patterns overall. These were picture perfect trades, right? These are trades that have clear support and resistance levels. They have clear indications of where to get in, where to get out if it goes against you, and then where to sell once you kind of are in the profit, right? And those are trades that I really like because they make it easy for me to understand. They make it easier for me to know, okay, I'm in here, I'm going to get out here because there's support. So when I'm in at 315, I'm looking to get out at $3 because I know that there's resistance there, right? So that's one of the reasons why it's an easier trade to do, because you have your targets, and whether it either hits them or it doesn't, and it breaks above the VWAP and then you're out. But because you have such a tight stop, like I was in at 315, the VWAP's 320, that's basically 5 cents, right? I have a decent area to work with, and generally it's 10% that I give on my stops, but that one was obviously closer to 5%, but it never broke above 330. So I was able to hold the trade and and what I should have done was add. When this broke higher, I should have added right in here. When this broke and hit up to 330, I should have added short and then held that and sold down here, and it would have been an even nicer win. It was still a nice win. Both of these trades on Tusk were really nice trades, but this would have been a nicer win if I would have just added even more, or if I would have shorted at 370 like I wanted to do from the very beginning. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Tell me, guys, what you guys think in the comments below, and let me know if there's anything else you guys want me to cover, or if there's anything you want me to talk about in any upcoming videos. Please like, subscribe, and thank you for sticking around for this video and for checking out my YouTube channel. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Bye.